Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Johnson. I've spent a little time meditating and thinking about this YouTube before I put it together. And I thought I'd share a little honesty with you. I hope it helps. I don't want to just waste your time, and you might take time to listen to what I have to say and then do your own contemplating. But, life just isn't always what we hope or wish it would be, and it's probably our fault. It's because we don't do something right, or we have an idea of what we should be doing, or trying to figure out something that just doesn't work, and who knows what kind of scheme of things. And I've been through a lot of that lately. My 2018 year was not necessarily a good one. I lost some friendship with some of my good Christian friends, and I lost my mom. She died. My father died about 15 years ago, and that didn't seem to bother me too much because I guess I still had mom with me. But when mom left, I suddenly realized that I feel like an orphan now. I'm way too old to be an orphan, but I miss him, and I wish I'd have spent more time with him, which of course by itself is a spiritual lesson. You need to tell the people that you love, that you do love them, and that you're glad for their friendship and whatever, because they won't always be here. Your kids are not given to you permanently. They grow up very fast, and you won't always be there to say I love you, and God forbid that they leave you before you leave them. In regards to whatever, planning our future is probably not a lot of our option. It's a part of our option, and we certainly have a lot to do with what we do and who we are, but it isn't our total destiny, I'm sure. And then God has a plan for us that is hard to plug into, and is sometimes necessary for you and I to do God's best. We need to figure out what God's plan is and how it best works and what we can do to help. One of my greatest pleasures, and I believe God's plan for me over many years, has been to preach the gospel. Not necessarily preach, but live the gospel and share with other people what I've been able to find out in regards to making it the best of my life. So I like to plug into God and find out what He wants me to do, and I ask for His direction. Along those lines, one of the things that I've learned is the best thing I can do is not plan. Now, in the many years that I've been through so much education, I've come to understand that the worst thing that I've done, and I've done this many times over, is plan out my entire day. There was a time, and it started in, as I remember, high school, and then continued on. The reason I know it's high school, because I used to work with Dad. I didn't really work with him. I was in Dad's locksmith shop, and sat at his desk while Dad worked sometimes, and I watched him work with the people in the keys. But I remember one day working on a schedule book. I don't remember how old I was. I think I was about maybe a sophomore in high school, as I relatively remember my age in regards to that book. And it was up to me to make sure that I had every single hour planned. I wanted to be popular. I wanted to make sure I made the most of my life. And so I would write down every schedule I could. This was the person I was going to see. This was the thing I was going to do at 12. Here's what I'm going to do at 3 o'clock. Here's what I'm going to do at 5. And if I had any gaps, I would call somebody and say, listen, let's meet for an hour at such and such a place. I had to really be busy. It was important to me to know that I was busy. I guess there was a certain self-assessment that being busy was verifying the worth of my life. So I tried to be busy. I tried to schedule myself, get myself ready. And now I've learned from experience, especially in searching out God's will, which I've mentioned again is not an easy thing to do. But searching out God's will, I made myself so busy that when God finally showed up with something that he wanted me to do, I didn't have time for it. And it was my fault. I had overscheduled myself because my self-affirmation was in my busyness. I had to be busy, so I wanted to accomplish something. Well, I was just too busy. And I've learned, and I do this today, that I don't plan too much of what I'm doing or trying to figure out. In fact, I will only plan at the very most 2 major things to accomplish the next day if I have something to accomplish. And if I've got something to do, I allow those 2 things to only be on my schedule because God has made my schedule very busy. And he's constantly slowing me down, speeding me up to accomplish what he wants to do. And it's helped me to be in touch with him, to listen to what he wants, and to do what I think he wants me to do. Those are important. And all of us are too busy. All of us are running around trying to be busy, self-affirmating our own lives, instead of giving ourselves time to relax. So, here's one of the reasons I tell you this. I scheduled the YouTube, which I have to schedule it almost every day, and have it written, and then you record the YouTube. You've got to have the cameras all ready and everything set, and then once the cameras are set and you're done, finished with YouTube, then you have to make sure that it goes out to those subscribers that said they were interested in it, and then make it available to Facebook and who knows where else it might go. And I do this out of conviction, because for me it's a way to share with you what I believe is the matter of life, the gospel of Jesus, and having him in your heart. I believe that's not only important, that's eternally important, and important that you get that message as much as I get it. But today was a kind of funny day, and it's been a funny year, like I told you before. Because I was missing my parents, I didn't feel up to everything that I had to schedule. I had to write a newspaper article. I had to get on the phone with an interview. These things I was supposed to do, and although I didn't put them down in my book, they were scheduled, and I had to have them done. I just didn't feel like sitting down and recording the YouTube. I was just a little tired and a little lazy. I just wanted to rest a little bit, and I wanted to forget it, push it out of the way. Here's my point. Don't you have days like that? Don't you come to a point where you're just doing too much, or you're a little tired of what you're doing? Now, some of you may be very lucky and be doing everything that you dreamed about doing. You're as happy as a lark, and you can hardly wait to get up in the morning and do it. And God bless you. But that's not the way I felt today. The way I felt today was, I think I'd just as soon stay in bed. And then I go over the bills, and there's not enough money. And then somebody sits down that you can't remember who they are, but they know you very well. Hi, Keith, how are you? Tell me about what you're doing these days, and whatever the conversation be. And I can't remember which student was this that I had, or where did I meet this person, and how do I know them. I didn't feel like being real presumptuous of understanding who they were. I pretended I remembered them, but I couldn't remember them. Just one of those days when nothing's necessarily going wrong, but nothing's going right either. One of the things that brings this to my attention, and I hope I'm not boring you with this self-revelation. By the way, in graduate school they taught us that counselors are supposed to self-revelate their lives to those that were listening to them so that they'd feel closer to their counselors. But as I was self-revelating on my life, I had some people, a couple of fellows that I'd worked with, I had them come in and into my place and clean it up. They were nice enough to to work on cleaning my place up. Sometimes I make a mess. And even worse than that, the injuries that I've had, my motorcycle accident and my near-death experience, have left their wear and tear on my body so that I'm not joyously jumping up and down all the time, though we should be. We should have joy in the gift of God's presence and in the gift of life that He's given us. But I just didn't feel it this morning. Wanted to stay a little longer in bed. Didn't want to get those clothes on. Wasn't sure that these were the right clothes. Anybody I was talking to, I tried to talk okay with, but you didn't want to talk on the phone or what have you. And I pretended that everything is good. I have a client that, God bless her, is in the hospital, and she hasn't been able to get out for this last year. So she called and talked to me wanting some encouragement from me. And this was one of those days that I just had trouble giving her the encouragement she needed. And I repent of that. I make mistakes. And isn't that where you are sometimes? You make mistakes. You don't want to do what you're supposed to do. Your son or your daughter wants to be happy with you. You don't want to be around them. Your spouse is overjoyous about your company, but I'd rather just not hear from him or her right now. Times when you just don't feel up to it. So what do you do in days like that? Well, I'm not sure I have all the answers. One thing I've learned is to accept myself in my bad times. I was mentioning to you I had a couple guys helping me clean my place yesterday, and the reason I wanted to mention that was because these are guys that came right off the street in a mission that I'm working with, and so I picked them up to help me, and great guys. In fact, surprising to me, great spiritual guys. But as we sat and talked a little bit, they don't have a place to live. They don't care for their family anymore. They don't have a lot of money. They're physically not doing real well. The list goes on and on. The more I watched it, the more I started to think, I haven't got it so bad. Here I am cursing my situation because I don't like where I am or what I'm doing right now, or I'm not excited about what's going on today and what's scheduled, and I just am not in the right kind of mood. You ever been like that? Reason I share it with you is to make you understand we're all like that. All of us are in a bad mood sometimes. All of us have trouble finding meaning and purpose to life, even those of us who have found it. I've come to understand my direction. But let me tell you, when I listened to these two guys talking about their troubles, one of them with a tear in his eye because he was trying to understand God's will for his life and why he wasn't happy as he wanted to be, a good, godly young man, I found out. But he just couldn't seem to get his groove, so to speak. I can think of times that I've been there. I've had churches that I pastored that, speaking worldly, didn't succeed. People that didn't come to the church. I've had Christian people that have been mad at me, and sometimes reasonably so. I was a guest one time at a dinner where they were raising money for my work. And the church, very nice, eclectic church, was raising funds for the work that I was doing. And they had a beautiful dance set up, lots of cake, lots of drinks. Well, my problem, if you call it that, I don't drink. I just, by conviction, don't like alcohol, so I don't drink. And I was at this party that they were honoring me at, and instead of drinking, I had to get some soda, or I believe I had cranberry juice, or what have you. But it gets worse. Now they're honoring me at this party. I wouldn't drink. And then everybody started to dance. They had a beautiful orchestra that was playing songs. It was a beautiful event. Church that was very good to me and anxious to help me. But back then, I didn't dance. By conviction, I didn't drink. And by conviction, I didn't dance. And so, I would not dance at this place that was honoring me, and I wouldn't drink at this place that was honoring me. Now here's the alternate in the confusion. Later on in life, I taught dancing. In fact, I've taught dancing in my college classes. When I taught humanities, teaching the arts, I've won awards at dancing. Before my accident, of course. But here I was convinced that I was serving the Lord by making it look like these things were wrong. And now if I could go back there, I would apologize. Who do I think I am? To stand there with them honoring me and saying, well, because you're going to dance and drink, I'm not going to let you honor me. I was wrong. And I've been wrong times like that. There are times when I need to follow Jesus' guidance and teachings closer. And it is also my job to forgive and forget. I don't always feel like serving the Lord. I don't always feel like trying to meet that standard or try to be a goody two-shoes. Because the fact of the matter is, I'm not. I make the same mistakes. I feel just as bad as you do. I'm afraid about things. I'm insecure about things. I'm worried about things. What am I trying to say? You're not much different than I am. And I've got the same kind of fears that you've got. I've got the same problems that you have. And I have the same doubts. I don't know for sure that the Bible can prove itself in every anew, but it's proved itself to me, and now I believe in what the Bible says. And I believe the Bible is its own good standard witness. And I believe if you study it, you'll find out that it works, that it has all of the truth. But I don't always feel that way. Emotion is a funny thing in the human being, and emotion is what is the basis of our life. And no matter how you feel, or how bad you feel, somebody else feels worse than you do. No matter how sorry you feel for yourself, somebody else is in worse shape. I remember when I was listening to these two boys yesterday, who, by the way, did a marvelous job at working for me. But they started to make me worry, and I almost cried. I had tears in my eyes listening to their stories, and then I started to realize, here I am worried about myself, and here I am so concerned with who I am and where I'm going, and all of a sudden I don't realize that these poor guys have nothing. These poor guys are down on their luck, they're hurting and they're crying and they don't know what to do. I should be grateful. Therefore, brethren, count it all joy when you shall fall into divers temptations. The point is, rejoice. Be happy. And you won't do everything right. And the person sitting next to you has the same fears that you have, has the same problems that you have, the same doubts, and has the same need to come in contact with the power of God through Christ. I don't have all the answers. I try to find the answers, and I keep looking. Okay, so it's a bad day for me, but I'm going to do all right. I'm going to finish this YouTube. I'm going to mark down what I need to do, and I'm going to get it done today. And you know what? I may not. I may not achieve what I want to accomplish today. But I do believe in Christ, I believe that God will guide us and direct us. I believe that He loves you, and He'll take care of you as He has taken care of me. And I'm grateful. And I don't deserve it. I'm no better than you are. I hope that God will grant you the peace that you're looking for, under the power of God, as I too need His peace.